Welcome to the Save with Sex podcast. I am your host, Siobhan L., pleasure scholar and creative mother of the Muses Lab. Together, we journey through sex, pleasure, and the erotic as it relates to our relationships, spirit, self, and our overall human experience. I'm elated to be your guide on this adventure. So grab your tools of pleasure, ground, and let's go. Hey, and welcome to the Save with Sex podcast. I am your host, Siobhan L. And first of all, I'm super excited because I have an official mic. So if you are watching this podcast, you'll see it kind of like floating into the video. But I have an official mic, so I feel like I've just come up in the world because I have been, in full transparency, I have been talking into my laptop doing this podcast. So I know my audio editor is going to be super excited to hear the crisp and the cleanness of the audio. And I know all of you are going to be excited because you can finally hear me without any type of like ins and outs or whatever. And, you know, in thinking about perfection, right? Before I get into that, today's episode is about Black women and palatability. And originally, I had it as Black women and respectability. But I think we talk about respectability politics a lot. And I wanted to not take it deeper, but choose a different word. I wanted to choose a different word. And a lot of this that I'm going to talk about is going to be not just my experience, but also a lot of the current pop culture that is surrounding Black women and being palatable for not just the white male gaze, but for like the people's gaze, for like the world, right? So there's that, right? And instead of doing respectability, again, I wanted to choose palatable. I wanted to look at it from a different lens. It's going to intersect with respectability politics, but I really just want to talk about how the world overall, and I understand, like, I don't do that, and I get it. I understand that there are, you may not be able to see the necklace that I have on from brownie points from Rini Riot nuance, right? I understand that there are nuances when it comes to how people receive others and interact with others and their thought process on specific things. I totally get that. But that's just a small percentage of people, right? When we're talking about respectability politics and being palatable, the world trying to coerce Black women into being palatable, Black women and Black femmes into being palatable, it's a grand view, right? It's more of the majority than it is the minority of people who speak out against, who are anti respectability politics, anti palatability, right? Back to my thought. In the spirit of that, I'm sharing things like me not having a mic, doing this podcast, or other elements that most people would not share because I don't want to call it decolonizing because that's something different. I'm unlearning the need to have to be perfect. I think there's a difference between quality and perfection, right? I have the symptom or the condition of perfectionism. And I learned not so long ago that perfectionism leads to procrastination because if it's not perfect, then you don't make a move, you don't bust a move. So now you're just procrastinating and you use the excuse of things needing to be perfect in order for you to take a step forward, which is the lie that we tell ourselves. And that procrastination and that perfectionism is rooted in fear, rooted in how other people are going to perceive us. And perception is shit. That is the worst. I want to say I did a blog post about this 11 years ago, and this is when like blogging, before blogging became what it is now, I had my own blog space. tastyconvo.blogspot.com, right? That's how old it is. And similar to a situation in my daylight life, I call my 9 to 5 my daylight gig, my daylight life. In my daylight life, right? I experienced similar things that I have been going through over the last couple of weeks. They're 11, 11 years ago, right? That was 2000, no, longer than that. That was longer. That was 2010. So 13 years ago, I was right. So now 13 years prior, I was experiencing similar things that I am going through now. And it was all rooted in perception, how people perceive me. No, I may not be this cavalier person. I may not be this nonchalant person. I have just a bubbly, vibrant personality, right? But in the workplace, because I interacted with people a specific way, trying to maintain professionalism, not getting too friendly, not getting too close, trying to learn things, maybe being a little aloof at times, me not knowing those things are symptoms of ADHD, which I'm going to find out what that means for me very soon. But just certain things that were personality traits. People took my personality traits and perceived me to be, made the perception that I was dismissive, that I was unprofessional, that I was disengaging, right? Black woman. People have all types of thoughts about Black women before I rabbit hole down that way, right? So perception is shit, right? So because of things like perception and because of things like being perfect, we procrastinate. And me sharing these things about what's going on with me, if you're watching this podcast, you're going to see me put one of my many do not disturbs on. Sidebar, my phone has been on do not disturb for the last 10 years, maybe 11 years. It's been on do not disturb ever since. And I'm not going to take it off. Like, my phone is on silent, it's on do not disturb, because if you need me, if you want me, if it is that important, you know how to find me. Period. Anywho, all of those things influence how we move. And I feel like it's important for me, for someone who may be wanting to start a podcast or maybe wanting to start a creative project. I feel like me sharing my truths and transparency creates some sense of relatability. That if, despite not having all of the fancy tools that people say you need to have in order to do a podcast or anything else, that if I could, with the bare bones, with the bare minimum that I have, start, that shit can you can too. That's why I share things like me not having a mic and now I have a mic and now I feel great about it, or me not having an audio designer to properly edit the audio aspects of my podcast and now I do, right? So all of those things I share because when you take the step, just meeting the universe, God, whatever deities that you resonate with, just meeting the divine halfway is enough, right? Before I get all boo boo, I'm gonna stop there. Palatability, right? So how that relates to being palatable. Often Black women in the workplace, not often, all of us Black women in the workplace and in life in general, we seek perfectionism because we are told that we have to be perfect in some way, that we have to present a specific way, that we have to be palatable for people. And palatable, first of all, I just thought about Jade T. Perry, who I love. I love them. They are amazing. Um, when they do their reintroduction post, their reset post, they always put in the caption that they are not to be consumed. And it just clicked why I chose palatable and palatability, because the world sees Black women and femmes as things to be consumed. That's why we have ideas like respectability politics, because Black women will always be viewed as things, not human beings, as things to be consumed. So the world tries to tell us to be palatable for their consumption. Oh, shit, man. Yo, the aha moments. When you start getting in alignment with life, with the divine, with frequencies, whatever, it doesn't matter your religious practice, right? Whatever it is, when you are just in tuned with everything, with the frequencies around you, them aha moments just fucking click, man. That shit, bing, it comes together. Ah, man, that, wow, that was a revelation for me. Um, the world, the world doesn't see Black women as human beings. We are just entertainment. We are just exotic, not even erotic. We're just exotic, unique things to emulate, to source from, to pull from, to grab from, again, to consume. So when we have people like a Ciara, because that's been all over the interwebs and social media and things, you have people like Ciara, and now everyone's talking about Chloe and Damaris in Donald Glover's produced movie Swarm, that was written by a Black woman, if I'm not mistaken. No one's talking about no one's talking about Dominique, right? I haven't seen the movie, but the clips that I've seen of Dominique and this character, like she's fucking killing it. But everyone's so focused on this sex scene, and Chloe has been Chloe, both her and Ciara actually have been the conversation around palatability and respectability politics, because pick me's of the world and want to be, I don't want to say Hotep, because Hotep is Hotep, right? Like, if you don't know who Hotep is, Google. I'm not about to give an Egyptology lesson, but I don't want to call this brand of Black men Hoteps. But that particular brand of Black men, that particular genre of Black men who try to queenify Black women into this archetype of perfection based on what they believe Black women should be or how Black women should exalt themselves. It leaves Ciara and Chloe at the height of these conversations, because these particular genre of Black people specifically, feel as though Black women who do not lead Lead, who do not lead linear lives, that do not take a path of go to school, go to work, find a man, get married, have kids, lead a house, blah, blah, blah. If they don't follow that linear path, if they choose to create happiness and pleasure and peace based on their own intuitive knowing, their own gravitation, by curating their own life, then they go against this purity. This purity of Blackness, this purity of a black woman, of a black queen. They go against this pure ideology of what a black woman, a black queen is supposed to be. And now they're just hoes on a stroll that everyone is exalting, and now it's emasculating men, and it's taking the feminine out of women. And I don't I don't understand what any of I don't understand what any of that means. I don't understand what any of those things mean. None of those things make sense to me, because if you as a black person root for, cheer for, support, exalt, amplify black women overall, black people overall, they should not have to fit into your archetype of what you think they should be. You should be worried about yourself. And those are the things that don't click for me. It don't click for me how everyone is so hung up on what both of these women who whose mere appearance on television for 30 minutes is more than what the majority of us make in a 40-hour work week. Why are y'all worried about rich black people's business? It's not clicking for me, y'all. Why are y'all worried about what these women are doing with their bodies? Because they're never gonna fuck you. These women are never gonna fuck you. You never gonna see what the pussy look like. You never gonna know what it smell like. You never gonna know what it tastes like. You're not even gonna be in any of these women's presence. You never gonna be in their presence. So why do you care? Is it that bad that there are many genres of black women and femmes, and that each of us has an opportunity to be inspired by the different genres of black women and femmes, and we just go do that? Like, why do y'all, and I wish this could be a back and forth conversation, but I'm gonna leave this rhetorical question to y'all. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make sure I have this clip. I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna make sure I put this part of the podcast, this part of this episode on social, because I want to know. I want to know, why is it necessary for black women and femmes to fit your archetype of what you think we should be doing? Like, what part of the plan of black supremacy, I guess, or black exaltation, where does that defy the plan? Because there's like 11 different texts that people are pulling from, and none of them are really saying the same things. It's just pieces cherry picked to support this ideology. Like, there's this random dude on TikTok telling women that they're not supposed to bleed, that's white. Like, what? How is a menstrual cycle white? Like, do you know that American gynecology was built off the bodies of black women, alive and unalive? Because if you don't know that American gynecology, literally the study of gynecology in the United States of America, if you don't know that black women, alive and unalive, their bodies shaped what American gynecology is today, if you don't know that, then you say dumbass shit like having a menstrual cycle is some white supremacy shit, or some unpure, unclean shit. Like, you say stuff like that when you don't know the historical context behind gynecology, when you don't know proper reproductive health, when you don't know sexual health. You make comments like that and then sound educated, and then the untrained mind and the untrained eye listens to you say dumbass shit like that. Like, why would you say that? Literally, a menstrual cycle is the shedding of unused lining of the uterus. So what I'm gathering here is you're saying that because we're not always pregnant, oh my God, because we're not always barefoot and pregnant, that we're unclean. Is that what you're saying? That we're dirty for allowing the unused endometrium and lining of our uterus to shed itself, that we're unclean? Really, like, sit with that. Because it's not clicking for me. It's just, I don't get it. I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. I get that all of this is happening because the world thinks Black women are here to be consumed, and that we have to be palatable. We have to be tasteful on the tongue. And if at any point our presence, our voice, our actions, how we move, how we present ourselves, how we show up in the world, our look, our aesthetic, our vibe, our energy, if at any point that is bitter to the taste of those who are trying to consume us, we are a threat. I don't want to taste that. I want to taste that energy. Ooh, that's going to cause nausea in my stomach. And I don't got nothing else to quiet down the nausea in my stomach, because your vibe, your aesthetic, yourself, your being, your existence is just, it's just nasty to me. Like, what the fuck is that? That's wild to me. It's in every touch point of our lives. We are expected to be palatable in the workplace. We are expected to be palatable in the home. We are expected to be palatable among our friends. We are expected to be palatable in the grocery store. We are expected to be palatable in the gym. We are expected to be palatable in the spa. We are expected to be palatable in the hair salon. We are expected to be palatable in the nail salon. We are expected to be palatable in the mall. We are expected to be palatable when we are driving. We are expected to be palatable when we are snubbed for an award that we should have gotten 20 years ago. It's bullshit. I can speak for the whole of Black women and femmes. We are tired of being palatable. We are not here for your consumption. I don't care if you can't swallow me, because I'm not here for to consume you. I'm not here for you to consume me. Choke. Choke, bitch. I'm not here for you to taste me. I'm not a meal to you. Can I be a snack? In a romantic, sensual, sexual, erotic kind of way? Sure. I could be a whole entree in that regard, but my existence, my being is not here for your consumption. I don't have to be palatable for you. Sure, I might represent your company in the workplace. That's in the workplace. When I clock out, bitch, I clock the fuck out. And what I do outside of that is really none of your business. And I know people want to say, no, you have to do. No, you don't. Mm-mm. That's the lie that you want to tell me so that I can continue to maintain this mask that I have to put on in these white front facing spaces, so that I compartmentalize myself to be palatable for you, while everyone else gets to be whoever the fuck they want to be. But me, the Black woman, the Black femme, the Black non-binary, the Black trans, all of us along the feminine spectrum, we have to compartmentalize ourselves. That don't click for me, because everybody want to all lives matter, everything else. But when it comes down to respectability politics and being palatable, nobody wants to all lives matter that shit. Now it's tit for tat. It's all lives matter when I say Black lives matter. But when I say nobody else has to be palatable, nobody else has to be respectable, but I have to be respectable, oh, now you're just doing tit for tat. It be shit like that. That wasn't planned. But it be shit like that where it don't click for me, where it's never good for the goose or the gander. It's never. It's always one-sided. And when we speak up about certain things, the world turns around on us and tells us to shut the hell up. Stop complaining. You're a sore loser. Why do you think you get to do that and the rest of us don't get to do that? If you do this for us, do this for yourself. You have to do it for us. Everybody has to enjoy the labors. That shit may not be applicable to everybody. Everybody may not want to show up the same way. And that's cool, right? It's cool if the archetype and the aesthetics of a Ciara and of a Chloe and of a Megan Thee Stallion, even a Beyonce or a Solange, a Carisha. It's cool if those genres of black women don't resonate with you. That's cool. But you don't have to tear someone else down in order to amplify yourself. You don't have to small up no one else in order to amplify or to big up yourself. You ain't got to small up yourself to big up nobody else or big up yourself. You don't have to do that. It's not necessary to minimize other people because it don't resonate with you. And I just wish, not just black people, but just people as a whole, I just wish the human race would recognize that it's so unnecessary to have to minimize someone just because it don't resonate with you. You can go mind your business. You can see it for what it is. You can have whatever opinions that you have, because we all know opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, right? You could have that, right? You can have your thoughts and whatever. And you can also keep them to yourself. Or you can keep them within your little Slack chats or your Teams chats or your WhatsApp chat, your coffee chats, or whatever type of friends chat you have in your group, whatever, your group text. You can keep your thoughts there. But everybody don't need to know your inside thoughts. Everybody don't need to know that that's how you feel. Nor do you have to posit those thoughts and feelings as law, as authority. Just because you decide to live your black ass life one way does not mean that everybody has to do the same thing, because we are all different people having a different human experience. We are all on the earth together. But even how we are experiencing and viewing the earth is going to be different because our brains are different. Our experience, how we have navigated the world has shaped how we view the world, how we experience the world. All of those things are super duper important, right? So you cannot expect all of us, with all of these unique experiences that we have, to follow the same blueprint. I talked about that a couple episodes back. You should go, if you haven't listened yet, you should go listen. But I talked about that. Everybody is sharing with you their recipe instead of just giving you the template. Because you can't follow everybody's recipe to the T, because it's not going to be applicable to your life. But if you have a template that you could customize for yourself, then you could just go live your black ass life in peace and not try to mimic and copy and duplicate what everybody else is doing, or expect other people to mimic, copy, and duplicate what you're doing. You are the authority over your life. You are not the authority over mine. Nor are you the authority over a Ciara or a Chloe. Okay? You're not. I get aggravated that we keep cycling through these conversations, because you're never going to get the response that you're looking for. You're not. You're going to constantly get, those of you who that's your thought process, you're constantly going to get resistance because no one is listening to you. No one who is opposite of that is listening to you. What they are is tired of you talking, and they want you to shut up and just mind your business. And I know you could see it, but the lovely Al Gore's rhythm allows you to curate what you see. You can curate it. And it doesn't mean you have to go necessarily a follow, unfollow, blah, blah, blah. But the things you like, the things you share, the things you view, that you spend 10 seconds or more on, the algorithm picks up where you stop in your scroll. Yeah. So if you want to curate the things that you see so that none of those things have to be in your view, stop liking it. Stop commenting on it. Stop screenshotting and sharing it. Stop sending a link. Stop clicking on it to look. If you don't want to see it, if you actually want to mind your business, you can do that by curating the things that you see. Flipping through the channels, it pop up on your screen, click off. Skip to the next channel. Back out. People talking about it, opt out of the conversation. Like, there's so much control that we have over the things that we consume, over the content that we consume. There's so much control over our content consumption that we don't think that we have. And we just feel like we are slave to content. We are not slaves to we are not enslaved to content. Shit might have us in a chokehold at some point, but it's not a tight chokehold that we can't free ourselves. We don't have to try to enforce and coerce palatability and respectability politics onto Black women because we just don't like it. You cannot like it and go live your life. You cannot like it and never say shit to me. You cannot like it and never make a comment. You could just not like it and go on about your life. Yeah. I am exhausted by this push to be palatable, this push to force Black women and femmes, those of us along the feminine spectrum, to be accepted. What if I don't want to be accepted by you? What then? Doesn't necessarily ostracize me. It just means that I don't care whether you accept me or not. Because you, the many of yous you are, it's just one group of people. There are over 7 billion people on this earth that we know of, that are documented, right? Probably more people that we haven't discovered on other remote islands and such, right? But that we know of, there are 7 billion documented people that we know of on this earth. And your small percentage, right? You think about 7 billion. In the grand scheme of things, let's say there's like 100,000 people that feel that we should make ourselves palatable and that we should be more quote unquote respectable, right? The percentage of 100,000 against 7 billion is like really finite. It's really small. I'm not a mathematician, but it feels like, like not even 1%. Not even 1%, because 10% of 7 billion, if my math is correct, 7 billion would be 7 million, right? So 7 million or 70 million would be like 10%, right? Like somewhere in the millions would be like 10%, let's say. So if it's just 100,000 people that have this thought process, like how insignificant is that? And I'm glad I'm saying this out loud, because when you are some form of public figure, right? Whether you are an Instagram influencer, you're Instagram famous, whether you're an A-list celebrity, B-list celebrity, you're known in your local community, you have hyper local presence, you're very well known in your industry, another form of hyper local presence. So regardless of what type of public figure you are or how known you are, right? We, as much as we don't want to, we think about how other people perceive us. We think about how other people think about us. We think about the perspectives other people have on us. And oftentimes those things influence how we move, right? But when you realize how insignificant something like 100,000 people are against 7 billion people in the world, that brings things into perspective. That reminds you that that group of people who seem to be influential in whatever way they come off really aren't that influential at all. Really don't have no they don't have no power. All I'm thinking about is He-Man, I have the power. We have the power. We have the power. None of these people have power over us. It doesn't matter how much they try to push us being palatable, try to push us being respectable for the white gaze, the male gaze, patriarchy, and all this other bullshit. It doesn't matter because we have the power. And when we are reminded that we have the power, that push for palatability, it means nothing. It has no weight, it has no hold because those people with that mindset who are loud and wrong, strong and wrong, they're not that loud. They're not. I'm thinking about how the algorithm pushes content that is raunchy. And when we think about media algorithms and we connect that to energetic frequency, makes me think about what is our unique algorithm. Same thing with the frequency. What is our unique algorithm? And what are we telling it to push out into the world stage feed? What is our algorithm? That's a prompt. What is our algorithm? And what type of content in our human experience are we telling it to publish into the feed of the world stage? I'm gonna make sure I write that down for myself. Because once we align with our unique algorithm and our respective human experience, none of that shit matters. Because then we tell our algorithm what type of content from our human experience to publish. If we're going to use a social media analogy, then we control the narrative. We control the narrative. Once we figure out what our algorithm is and what type of content we want the world stage to view, how transparent we want to be, how palatable, if at all, we want to be, how respectable, if at all, we want to be. Once we map that out, we can then energetically create our own algorithm and allow people to see that. It may cause some people to create a reality that may be figmented. if you become master at frequency and all of those things in creating and shaping your reality, some people may create realities that to them are real but really aren't real. They may create facades. That's an adverse uh that's an adverse event from being able to utilize that skill, right? But because we live in an energetic frequency where truth constantly and always prevails, one can only create and shape a facade like algorithm for so long, right? So if you're living in your truth, you're being authentically who you are, who you have been designed to be, if you have touched and agreed with the person you are, again, designed to be, whether you choose to be palatable or not, whether you choose to be respectable or not, that truth is what will shine. That truth is what will show. You tell the algorithm what you want it to publish. Just like you curate your social media timeline and you tell the algorithm what to show you. We are not enslaved to all of these ideals and ideologies. We are the energy. We are the humans. We wield it. And if we act as if we do not have control over these things, that we are unable to tell these things what to do, then it takes over. That went left for a second, but whoever needed that, that was for you. Yeah. That's where I'm at with that. On Black women and being palatable. I'm over it. And I hope that the whole of us continues to defy respectability and palatability. I hope we continue to defy that because we deserve that. We deserve to exist as is. And our choice to level up and upgrade and heal ourselves, quote unquote, heal ourselves, realize and actualize ourselves, that's our personal choice. And I would like for us to choose these things because that's what we want to do. And we know that choosing, affirming these elements that allow us to fully realize ourselves and our human experience is nothing but allowing us to be our best selves at all times. It's for our betterment. All of these choices that we make are for our betterment. I mean, if you're doing it for attention, that's you. That's your business, not mine. That's your business. But if you are not and you're really seeking to elevate your life and you're choosing to do these things because you believe these things are going to elevate your life, by all means, do it. So, thank you for tapping into the Say It With Sex podcast. Yeah. Thank you for tapping in. And as always, I was about to say love and light, but I used to say that when I used to do weekly guidance. And love and light. As always, stay true to who you are. Until we meet again. Thank you for tuning in to the Say It With Sex podcast, an audio experience of the Muses Lab. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with like minds. And if you're down for the get down, subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and never miss an episode.